Hello, Mark Red Larson here for the Dreamcatcher podcast. Thanks for joining us. Today, my guest is Cody Jones from South Carolina. How are you doing today, Cody?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Beautiful Friday, right before Christmas, and life is great. What's the weather like in South Carolina today?
It's probably about 60 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe
Nice.
60ish. Yeah, it doesn't get too cold here, man. We might
Okay.
get a couple days in the 40s through the winter, but not
That's
many.
my kind of weather. I mean, I'm in here in Nebraska, and actually, this so far we've had really very mild. I mean, we barely had any snow or anything like that. Born and raised in South Carolina.
Yes, sir. Born and raised.
Okay. So what do you do in Charleston? Right.
Well, no, Charleston's a couple hours from me. I'm in the upstate of South Carolina.
You're upstate. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So what do you do in that part of South Carolina?
Uh, I do a lot of things, man. I own a landscaping company.
Oh, cool.
And I've been doing that for about 10 years now. Just realized really young that the entrepreneurship was really a path I wanted to pursue. Learned a lot in the past 10 years with entrepreneurship, just
Oh
about
yeah.
business and also about myself. Just learned a lot just from that that journey. I also have a podcast, host a podcast. I'm a
Awesome.
very big fitness advocate. I believe that physical health and physical fitness is a cornerstone for almost everything else that happens in our life.
Amen.
Um, and so, I'm almost also a big mindset advocate. I feel like the mindset we have, influences and determines a lot of our life that maybe
Everything.
sometimes we're not aware of.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Mindset and health is wealth. I mean, so many people. Well, the mindset, going back to mindset of January 1st, they're going to start going to the gym, and it's just
Yeah.
like, nope, you start today. And but most people don't see that, and I'm glad you're out there. Is so how long you been doing that?
What's that? The podcast?
No, with the mindset and the health thing, and
I just recently realized that was something that I have a big focus on because when I talk to people, when I talk to people on my podcast or either other podcasts or just
right.
people in general, I realize that's something I focus on a lot. I focus heavily on mindset. It's something I reference to a lot is your mindset and how you see things. Uh,
Yes.
so I don't know if you would call it maybe a niche or an area I focus on, but it's just kind of something that just kind of I just realized, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So somebody. Okay. So how did you get started being entrepreneurial? I had people always ask, how do you
Mhm.
get started? How did you get started from when you decided to do it?
You know, I, I'm going to answer this, and I hope it doesn't come across as disrespectful. But man, I had so many jobs. I mean, I had warehouse jobs,
Okay.
construction, you name it. I had so many jobs, and I just felt like I should be doing something more. There was something else I was supposed to be doing. I was going
Uh-huh.
here, I was there 8, 10, 12 hours a day, whatever. And I was in my mind, I was a hard worker. I was trying to do things right, but there was
Yep.
just something else that I was supposed to be doing.
Yep.
And it was one of those things. I worked for all these different places, didn't feel like my effort was valued or whatever. And so I just started something that I knew how to do, basically was mowing grass. I just started
Okay.
mowing grass, and
Yep.
and it
Yep.
was a really slow start, man. I had to have another job for at least the first 5 years.
Oh yeah.
uh but no, I just had this thing inside that said I'm supposed to be doing something else other than
Yeah.
this.
I do know that, and it's interesting. You had that business. I had a handyman business for a long time, and it was interesting how the handyman business transferred over to me speaking.
Right.
That the most I had 150 clients at the height of it, but most of them were giving me a small job, and then I would talk to them the rest of the time. And it's
Hmm.
like, okay, this is interesting, and they would pay me. And it's
Yeah.
like something's trying to tell me that I need to be doing my using my voice.
Hmm.
And it was it's going to come up on 3 years ago that I quit handyman, and which was awesome. I had great clients. I mean, and they're still supporting me even to this day on this. So no, I mean it's just so okay. I mean, how often do you work out? Going back to the health thing.
Man, I don't want to scare anybody, but I work out every day. I'm doing some
Okay,
type of
cool.
workout every day. I'm in the gym, 3, 4 times a week. And something recently I started about 4 or 5 months ago was MMA training. I do that about 2, 3 nights a week.
Really? So
Yeah.
mixed martial arts then? Okay.
Oh
So
man, that's a
that's
whole
a
nother ball game right there.
I bet. So how's that? Is that what since you've gotten into it? Is it what you thought it would be like?
it's very coming from a person who was already, I feel like I was already somewhat fit when I started. It's very humbling.
Oh,
it's,
okay, that says a
it's
lot.
it's it's very humbling. But no, it is, jujitsu is one of the best workouts I've ever had in my life. And this is coming from a person I've ran, I've swam, I've cycled, whatever.
Right.
Jujitsu is, that's the grappling, the wrestling portion of it. It is a really good workout.
I
It's one of those
bet.
things that going back to the mindset, man, you're putting yourself in this environment of people who have been training, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and they're teaching the class, and they're
Yep.
doing these, they're actually going to the ring and having these fights. And it puts you in this place of uncertainty. You're in there with all these guys and girls too are in there. And you're putting yourself in that uncomfortable situation, and you're learning a skill at the same time. And it's like, I love the physical aspect of it, the skill
Right. Right.
of learning it. But I also value too who it's kind of pushed me to be mentally and even spiritually, even, I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm saying a humbling experience, and it is humbling, but it's also, it gives you a different mindset on life. It gives you a different
Interesting.
mentality.
Okay, and that is interesting because that's one reason why people, when you have to become the person, and to be that, you have to grow into that person.
Right.
That's something that people are always like, well, I want to do what you're doing, or the thing that they say, well, I'm someday going to be someday, which is one of my triggers. And it's just like, no, you have to become that person. You have to do the like actions. And plus they also want it right now, which I think is part of our society is, you know, we have everything that they want right now. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, to be honest with you, I could talk all day about that. uh, so I on my podcast a couple months ago, a couple weeks ago, it hasn't released yet, but I talked to a jujitsu black belt, and
Oh,
the
wow.
average, for a black belt is about 10 years. I think it took this specific
Wow.
person 13 years. And it just shows us that I think you're right. This immediate gratification, this wanting something
Yeah,
right now, is a big problem with a lot of things that's going on, with
very, very
our
much.
individual lives and also our society.
Yeah.
I mean, this immediate gratification thing, man, it's one thing that kind of keeps us in this comfort zone, keeps us in this loop. We could even go so far as it causes us to, gain weight and be out of our fitness or whatever. Just wanting something right now. Um, I think that's a big problem for us. I think that's a big problem that
Yep.
hopefully we can overcome.
Yeah, I do too. Because so many people aren't living their dreams because they want it right now, and
Right.
it's a process, and it's not an easy process.
Hmm.
I mean, nothing worthwhile is easy, and it's just like I'm going to give up, after one or two times, and which
Yep.
is which is so bad because they aren't living their dreams, but they're not putting the ripple out there that they potentially would if they grew into the person that they truly wanted to be. So.
Exactly.
No, I don't know. After looking at some of your TikTok stuff, I love the things you put out there. That it's just that is well, we were talking about lion not sheep, beforehand, and kind of the mentality. I don't know, maybe the worldwide, but the United States. How do you think we got to such a place where we're kind of wimps? Kind of. I mean, it's just. I mean, if it doesn't feel right after sometimes they don't even give it one time and they just move on. I mean,
Yeah.
settling, or what do you think?
You know, That's a really good question, and I don't think I am in by any stretch the person to answer that question. But I will say something that I've noticed. I don't think it's one specific thing. I think it's a combination of things. But I just turned 30 years old this year.
Okay.
Uh, the generation I was in, and this is without a doubt going to irritate some people, but the generation that I was in, when we had sports growing up, we everybody got a trophy for kind of participating.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I think it's this mindset that we kind of carried into, our adult life,
I
us
think
being
so.
this generation.
Yes.
Because you even see this with employees and at their workplace. People just they have this mentality that they're just entitled to something just because they want it.
Yep. Yep.
You mentioned something about a ripple effect, and I love that you brought this up because this reminds me of purpose. When people I think people think that if you pursue your purpose or if you're living your purpose, it's just going to be easy. It's just supposed to be easy and it's just going to happen for you.
Wrong.
But I think one of the biggest things that shows us we are living our true purpose is when you have those times that you want to give up, but you know that the highs are worth the lows.
They are.
And something else too is like you're living your purpose. People always say, like, how do you find your purpose? How does how does a person find their purpose? And
Right. Right.
I don't think how is the question. I think when is the question. So when the person finds their purpose, what do they do? I think that's the bigger question.
I'd
Because
agree.
like I said, we think that it's supposed to be easy. We think that just because it's our purpose and it's for something we're supposed to do, that it's going to be easy. But you have to have, man, when you're living your purpose, you have to put in the work, you have to put in the
Oh,
dedication, you have to sacrifice.
got to do
And
the reps. Yep.
yeah, you have to have something pushing you that's going to ensure that you do that. And just because you want it is that's not a big enough motivator to
It is
push you when
not
times
even
get hard.
close.
So I don't know if that answered your question or
It
not.
does.
Kind of went off on a tangent there.
No, and that's great. I agree with you. I mean, it's just you're talking about. Well, I talk to so many people, employers, where the employees get the job. Well, I had one that said that the guy got the job on Monday and then showed up Friday, just Friday, and wanted his paycheck. And he just thought because he got the job that he would get a paycheck at Friday. On Friday, it's like, no,
Hmm.
you didn't do any of the work. And it's like, how? I wasn't brought up that way. I mean, but I just like the guy was serious. He really thought he was going to get a paycheck just because he got the job. And I feel for employers a lot. And I get triggered on this living wage. It's just
Hmm.
like, you know, this is businesses that these people have to make money to
Right.
get this, to be able to pay these employees. And I I guess living wage gets too much like socialism, and it's just like you have to earn that. If you
Yep.
don't earn it, for one thing, what you don't earn, you don't appreciate.
Hmm.
And I'll get off on one of my tangents here. It's just I feel sorry for employers. They get a bad rap. I mean, there are bad employers out there, but there's just like they're having to deal with this where a living wage BS, and it's just like, yeah, that's not the way the world works, or shouldn't be. I don't believe.
Yeah.
It's just like because actually everybody that's doing the reps, it kind of I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for. Minimalizes what they're doing. Actually, they're actually
Hmm.
doing it and getting And I just think that if this country is going to go forward, we got to change this. I mean, this entitlement.
Yeah.
It's just. And I'll let you talk now.
Well, I was just to make a comment about that just really quickly. What I guess I don't know if you would call this an upside or a positive to this or whatever, but if you are one of those people who want to contribute to a company and progress in the company
Right,
and do
right.
like it would be, I'm not going to say easy, but it would be easier to contribute to your employer, to your place of work, and to stand out because so many people are not doing that these days.
No, they're
So many
not.
people are I mean, let's just say way below the bar of what's expected. Like this gentleman you were
Ex-
talking about, if you
exactly.
want to excel in your space, I feel like that would make it relatively easier. And I'm using easier very loosely there.
And I agree because you don't have to really stand out that much to be above that,
Exactly. Yeah.
and that's a sad state of what. The one reason why I started all my Dreamcatcher brand and everything is to try and help people realize because in Central Nebraska we're not real entrepreneurial. I mean, it's very meat and potatoes and very, and I stand out because I do that. But there
Hmm.
are actually a lot of kids that do the typical, high school, college, and all that stuff, and get a job and do the 40-40 and all that stuff. But they want something better, and it's just like there is something better because it's like I get told get a real job, all this stuff like they try. It's like, well, I do
Yep.
have a real job. It's one that I that's my job. So, but it's just like these kids are looking for something different, and there are good kids out there that really truly do, and that maybe is one of the plus in Central Nebraska is we're still very work ethic driven.
Yep.
We still you do it you you do a day's work, and when you what
Right.
you say is going to happen, and I do like that, but it's just I don't know how I couldn't live in California, probably not New York either, but how does a country survive, going forward? Because I see this disease spreading across this country. It's just,
Hmm.
I mean, what could you and I do? I mean, what we're kind of doing already, but I mean, do you have a group, or do you have something like that that is part of your business?
When you say a group, what do you mean by that?
Oh, like I have, I'm gonna Nebraska Central Nebraska Rocks, where we kind of like-minded people come together to work together on
Okay.
stuff, or Facebook group, or whatever, just a local group, or even
Yeah,
a worldwide group.
no, I don't have a group, but I would say if we're going to talk about how to fix this thing, I think it has to come from the individual, because
Yeah,
if every person does their part, it should fix it. Now the problem is, every person doing their part. so,
yeah, exactly.
so it's like, how do we get to that part? But and I think that's something else too, man. We all have this it's like this hero fantasy or whatever. We want somebody to come and save us and
Yep,
somebody to make our lives better. And, we can sit there and we can wait on that our entire life and be in the same place, 60, 80,
yep, not
70
gonna
years
happen.
later. But I think if we take that initiative to be the hero in our own story, I think that'll work wonders for us that we can't even imagine, you know,
Yeah.
um,
Uh,
because this is something I really get. I can really go down a rabbit hole with this, but this victim mentality, man, that just,
oh yes.
everything that happens to me is somebody else's fault. And this, I
Yep.
have no zero contribution to this. And, if they didn't do this to me, my life wouldn't be this way.
Yep.
And it's, man, that mindset perpetuates itself.
Oh yes.
That is like a vacuum that just like sucks you in. And it's
It
very
really
hard to
is.
get out of that when you just see, because going back to mindset for a minute, this is why I'm so such an advocate for mindset, because it influences everything you see in life. I mean, every single thing.
It
How
does.
you think determines what you see. You
Yep.
could be like, you could wake up in the morning and you could be a person who says, well, nobody likes me, I'm not liked, I don't, XYZ, whatever. And
Right.
then
Right.
you go to a coffee shop, somebody's having a bad day, they make a rude comment to you that's really got nothing to do with you, that's what's going on internally with them. And then,
Yep.
but you internalize it because you have this mindset. You say, "Oh, well, see, I knew I was a bad person, or nobody liked me, or whatever."
Yeah.
And it's like this thing perpetuates. And this is
It
why I'm
does.
saying this mindset is so important, to be aware of what it is that we think and how it influences everything around us.
And I agree. And what you seek, you will find.
Right.
You will. And they call me Mr. Positivity, and I'm not always positive, but
Hmm.
I see the world. The world's great, and it's just like that's why I think I find in general positive stuff. And I've been through things that haven't been so positive, but that there's always a way to. I mean, you have to see that. Just like my wife, because that's kind of what got this all started. My wife had advanced cancer back in 2015, 2016, and I didn't know if she was going to make it, but she did. She's a very, very tough person. But it got us started on this journey. We started taking trips like we always wanted to. It gave clarity. Oh my gosh, cancer gives clarity. If you, I mean, I may not have had that same look if she had passed, but it gave clarity. It's just like, no, I'm not even going to waste myself on that, my time on that, because that is not towards where I'm going.
Hmm.
And but it's just, yeah, I could have been so down, but we it was a blessing because we had so many people come to Cheryl is my wife's name, to our aid. I mean, they just took us under their the one gal was a wing, she was an angel. She took us under her angel wing, and everything was positive. And there was days where it wasn't positive, but
Hmm.
yeah, everybody goes through something negative, but you can
Yep.
usually. And what I put up yesterday, everything happens for me, not to me. And
Right.
too many people think that it happens to me, and it's just like, yeah, cancer did, but it also was a gift. It's
Hmm.
just, it is it's just like I said, what you seek, you'll find. And people that are negative, like in your example a little bit ago, they will find it. And then it's like, yep, that just solidifies that I actually am that kind of person. And
Yep.
I don't know. So, Cody, you're a coach too?
I am not a coach currently.
Not a
No.
coach. Okay,
No.
okay. Would that be something you'd want to do, or down the line, or
I don't. I don't know. I don't really know the answer to that right now.
okay, okay,
Possibly.
possibly. So, are you a speaker? Because I can see you being a great speaker.
Um, not yet, but I think it'd be more likely I would be a speaker than a coach
Really?
in
Okay,
the future.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I can't. Does it bother you to get up in front of people and speak? It intimidates me until I get going.
I think there again, I think it would depend on the topic of what we're
True.
talking about.
True.
If it was something I really felt passionate about, I really felt like was, hey, I hate to keep using this word, but my purpose,
Yep.
if
Yep.
I felt like that was fueling me, I think it would be a lot easier. Not going to say I wouldn't be, a little nervous or intimidated, but I think it would
Yep.
certainly help.
No, I hear you on that too. It'd be something like my purpose with, positivity and getting people to their dreams and stuff like that. I can definitely so. And that brings me up. Dream catcher. I always ask, so what was your dream when you were a kid?
Hmm. Oh man. I don't, I feel like I had several.
Okay.
I went through a period as a very young child where, for some reason, the firefighter, you know,
Awesome.
career was something that really stood out to me. And then I went through a period of, like a baseball player. I feel like every boy has a dream of being a
True.
baseball player.
True.
Um, and then late in my late teens, it was a soldier, like a special forces soldier.
Oh wow. Okay.
Um, I did not join the military. I did not,
Okay.
and I have reasons for that I probably won't get into right here because it's a very long rabbit hole. But I just, that was kind of where I made a transition from the teenage to adult was I was actually training myself to do this whatever
Really?
these workouts these soldiers
Right.
do.
Right.
And then somewhere between, just say 17, 18ish to early 20s is when I made the shift into entrepreneurship.
Okay. Okay. So okay. Entrepreneurship. What does 5 years down the line look like?
5 years down the line from here, I'm really hoping I can capitalize on the last 10 years. And I don't mean financially, I mean the knowledge that I've
Oh,
been
that
fortunate
you've
enough to
acquired.
learn for the
Okay.
past 10 years. I'm hoping I can capitalize on that and put that into not only the business I have currently, but potentially other businesses, potentially, my podcast, things like this, guests on your podcast, other people's
Right.
podcasts. I'm hoping I can kind of take what I've learned because, I think about this often, man. There were a lot of times, just in, early entrepreneurship, early 20s, that I felt like I needed some sort of, message, just some sort of thing for somebody to say to me. I didn't know where to find it. So I'm hoping I
Okay.
can give that to people who are in that space. Not saying by any means that I have all the answers, because I certainly don't.
Well, and nobody does, but that's so okay. So give you the message, or how would you how did you believe that would come about?
For me,
Right. Yes.
well, I wasn't really sure. So what I started doing in my early 20s was I started, going to other people. And when I say other people,
Okay.
celebrities, people like Tony Robbins, people like,
Right. Right.
Inky Johnson. I love Inky Johnson's story. People like Eric Thomas,
Oh yeah.
Joe
Et.
Rogan, David
Yep.
Goggins. Listen, man,
Hmm.
if you can't go to the gym and get a workout with somebody like David Goggins or Jocko Willink in your ear, man, like that's like a whole different workout right there.
Yeah. It's a win-win. That's for sure. And then probably
Oh
another
man.
win on there.
Yeah.
No-
But no, it was just, kind of seeking out that knowledge, just, and I think this is something too, just to go off on a little mini tangent here. I think our time, our society certainly has its problems, but I think also too, we are in a very, uh, unique time, a very positive time if we capitalize on the technology we have. Like this stuff on
True.
social media, like just these podcasts right here,
Exactly. Yeah.
this
It's
was not a
amazing.
this was not a thing back in the, 90s or 80s or
Not very
whatever.
long
I mean,
ago. Uh.
we have technology at our fingertips that we can really take advantage of if we
Yes.
just if we just
Yes.
see it.
Exactly. No, it's just like these podcasts. I mean, I did one the other day from Sydney, Australia. It was 17 hours, two different seasons and 2 different days, and it's
Oh
just
wow.
like and it's just like they're right there in your the room with
Yeah.
you. I mean, there is. Yeah, the techno like everything, there's good and bad on both sides. It's just
Hmm.
kind of like we were talking with AI and Chat GPT and all that stuff. And I think it's something I can't even remember what you said, but I think it's something we need to be aware of. I think it could be um, for one thing, I think it makes people, well, like you were giving an example. You can do all this stuff, but then when you really need to do it, when that's not available, what do you do then?
Yep.
So it's
Yeah,
just,
I don't think I didn't mean to interrupt you. I don't
nope,
want
you're
to
fine.
I don't think we should focus on becoming like a cyborg or something that's like fused with technology, because we were
Yep,
talking about, a lot of people these days can't even spell because their phone does it for them.
yep,
There's
yep.
autocorrect. And so, I think what I was saying was we want to be able to use technology and not let technology use us.
Yes, and amen. That is so important. So, I mean, if we let technology use us, I mean, don't we become irrelevant? I mean, with all
Hmm.
some of these robots are scary. I mean, they're so realistic, and it's
Yeah.
just like if it can do all this, where do we fit into that equation?
Hmm.
Um, I put out there that we're all unique. God made us. We're the only one, and so far they can't repeat who we are. But
Right.
that's why I put out the posts and everything that I do, because it's me, and nobody else is like that in the world. So you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, well, if you even look back, like just a couple hundred years ago, or whatever it was, a couple thousand years ago, the ancestors that we had, like their muscular build was different from what we are today, and the reason is because we don't have a need, like we don't go out. Most of us don't go out and hunt our food, So
Exactly.
those muscles they had, it's almost like it's atrophied over time. And,
Yep.
and even if you look at from the 1950s, I'm pretty sure the average testosterone level for a man has dropped significantly
It
since the
has.
1950s. And
Yep.
this is a rabbit hole I don't even want to go down, but there's a lot of reasons for that. It's the stuff that's in the food and all that kind of
Yep.
stuff. But
Oh yeah.
um, but yeah, and that very same thing could happen to us mentally if we're not careful with this technology thing.
Very, very much. Yeah, I like that. I like that. And very true. So, and like you were saying with the food, that's one thing. When my wife and I went to Italy in end of June and July, immediately we could tell the food was better. We
Hmm.
as a group, because we came in from all over the world, and it's just like, wow, this food really tastes really good. The
Yep.
flavor was awesome. And then came back to the United States. It's like, wow, I didn't realize how bad our food was.
Yep.
And but it's just like why we allow, maybe a lot of people don't realize all the stuff in the food that we allow.
Hmm.
I guess I will talk about rabbit hole. I will not get on that because I'm just like, I'm allergic to MSG, and they just like, they don't seem to really care, and they sneak
Yeah.
it in there a lot of different places. And it's just like, no, we should not be allowing this in any of our food. And
Hmm.
so for food, go ahead.
I was
You're
just
gonna
going to say, just really quick. Joe Rogan. I'm sure
Oh
you know
yeah,
who Joe
definitely.
Rogan is. He had a guest, Gary Brecka. They were talking about this very same thing. How you go to Italy. I've never been to Italy, but how you go to Italy, you get pasta from Italy. It's very different.
It
Most
is.
people, if they don't have celiacs, if they eat pasta in America, you eat pasta, you feel very lethargic and kind of
Yep.
lazy almost after. But they said it's not like that in Italy. It's not like it's completely different.
Yeah, nothing was the same. I mean, their pizzas were a little bland for me, but the rest
Hmm.
of the food was awesome. I mean, it was
Yeah.
just like I can't even explain it. We still, to this group that we were over there with, is still talking about the food.
Hmm.
And I see they were the first one to ban the fake meat over there too in Italy.
Okay, I didn't
And
realize that.
yeah, just the other day they said that they thought that was not good for their population. And I don't know what you have for a diet, but I try to. I mean, organic. I mean, well, how do you eat? What's your diet like?
I eat I feel like I eat very specific, routine, repetitive things. I probably cycle through like 10 or 15 maybe at the most different meals,
Uh
but
huh.
I try to eat a lot of lean meats,
Yep.
vegetables. I'm very specific with the carbohydrates I eat. I don't eat I can't tell you the last time I've had pizza. Just because it just makes me feel I don't know if it's all the grease or whatever, just it makes
Could
me
be.
feel lazy pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm very specific on when I eat certain things, like when I eat the most of the protein, when I eat most of the carbs and that kind of thing. Uh, and talking about diet just for a second, man, I think fasting is good. I think fasting can
I
be
do
good if
too.
you want to do fast or whatever.
Yep.
But I think one thing that we really have a problem with here in America is the ideal breakfast. The ideal
Huh.
breakfast this in America is mostly sugar and like processed
It
carbs, and
is.
it is crazy.
Yep.
Like if I'm not going to say the name of the breakfast or whatever. I think most people can put this together.
Yep.
If you put a certain beverage with a certain breakfast, there's
Yep.
probably 50 grams of sugar in that, and
Oh yeah,
just in
which is
that.
tremendous, and
I mean,
that's
it's
for just
crazy.
the one meal. And I mean, and people still don't. They're still doing the cholesterol and fat stuff so much, and it's like, really, you should be looking at the sugar and all, because there is
Oh yeah.
everything we eat has so much sugar.
Hmm.
And that's one thing I kind of watch, because my mom had Alzheimer's dementia really early on, and I see that is kind of what maybe sugar in the brain. I mean, it
Hmm.
was the more I'm learning about how bad sugar is in general, and that was one thing. Italy definitely has a different breakfast by a long ways.
Hmm.
Definitely more protein and more like that. You did not see what we have as a traditional here. You know, basically kind of what I grew up on with the cereal. I mean, I grew up on all that
Yeah.
not non-nutritional food. Well, it's
Right.
not even really food; it's food like. And I
Yeah,
just,
I think the ideal breakfast for most of us, man, should be high protein, high fat. I think that's what it should be. You
yep,
know.
no,
Um.
I do too. So yeah, and actually, I'm part of the. Actually, in the last couple of years, I've been part of the Y, and I actually have a trainer, and he's been having me do the fasting, for
hmm,
my age and stuff, which is like, I don't. After I got used to it, I don't even miss that other meal. It's just like, okay, and I definitely eat a lot less, and plus, he's been having me do some exercising, which has been interesting. I did water yoga, which is probably one of the hardest things I've ever ever done.
I bet.
So I definitely crashed and burned a couple times on that. But and that's another thing. The why. Everybody's like, well, it's so expensive to go to the gym. It's so expensive to go to the Y, and it's just like, no, it's not. For one thing, it's insurance, maybe for later on for your
Hmm.
health, and it's definitely not definitely not cheap when you have problems with your health. I know that just from
For
my wife's
sure.
cancer. That ended
Yep.
up being $250,000,
Oh wow.
and yeah, it's just but no, and then the Y, I actually kind of work for the Y now, so which
Okay.
I love. So I'm a little promoting here, but it's it's not like I thought it was either. There's so many people there and all ages, and it's just like, just go to the Y, try it. They have free trials, or I'm sure maybe the gym you go to too. Just try it and stick with it. You're not going to
Hmm.
know how it is in just a short amount of time. And my trainer, which he listens to, so he's um, he knows I'm very much a proponent for health. And
Hmm.
I wasn't when I was definitely younger. I was not. I was definitely not. And I have learned, or I saw that you must do. I see you must do ice baths and stuff, or so
Oh
you
yeah.
must be a fan of Wim Hof. So
I know Wim Hof. I think if I'll say this, I think if you're going to get into ice baths, don't try to do what Wim Hof does originally. You just start with a cold shower or something first, man. But
yep,
um, no, the ice bath. The ice bath is so mine that I do is 43 degrees
okay,
Fahrenheit. I think that might be like 3-ish degrees Celsius. I'm not sure.
uh
Um, but there's a ton of physical benefits for that thing. But again, what I value the most is the mental benefits that you get from that thing. Is because when you do this thing 30 minutes after you wake up, which is what I do,
huh, okay,
you win a battle with yourself first thing in
oh
the
yeah,
morning. And you're doing this the way when I do it, excuse me, when I do it, is I'm watching the sunrise simultaneously.
awesome.
And I don't know how much you know about early morning light exposure, the early morning
Oh
sunlight
yeah, the golden
exposure.
hour.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
yep,
the low angle sunlight is completely different from the high
it
angle
is. It's
sunlight.
such an awesome
Um,
time of the day.
oh man, you're talking about setting your circadian rhythms
Yep,
and
yep.
setting up a consistent energy for the day. But yeah, so I'm a big fan of the ice baths for sure.
Yeah, I think it is, and I do the showers. And actually, since we get snow and ice in here, I've been out and meditated. Just bare minimum. And
Hmm.
everybody's like, "Isn't that terrible?" It's like snow really wasn't that cold. Ice
Yeah.
was cold, but it's just like kind of like the initial shock when you do. You get really used to it pretty quickly.
Hmm.
And people are like, "Are you still doing that?" They think I'm crazy. It's like one thing, once you start doing it, it's part of what you do every day.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, no, I mean, I don't know if Wim Hof has those things you can go be with him, which I find intriguing. But no, so what got you started on ice baths?
I don't know. I'm a big fan of Andrew Huberman. I don't know if you know who that is.
Huh, I don't think I do know who
He's
that
a
is.
he's a neuroscientist from Stanford. Has a very very popular podcast. I'll send you some of his stuff
Okay,
if you're
thank you.
interested in anything about neuroscience. This guy is like,
Awesome.
um. Anyways, he does these little episodes on, I guess you could call them maybe life hacks or whatever.
Okay.
And he does the ice baths. Joe Rogan does the ice bath. All these athletes pretty much do ice baths. And I was like,
Yep.
man, I'm going to try this thing out because it has a lot of good physical, like I
It
said, physical
does.
benefits with the muscle recovery. It helps with the blood flow. It helps with the
Yep.
metabolism, all that kind of stuff.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and so when I started doing it, I was like, dude, this thing sucks.
It
I was
does.
like,
Oh yeah, especially the first time. It's like, whoa.
yeah, I was like, this thing sucks. But then there again, going back to the mindset, I was like, okay, I'm gonna when I started this thing, it was 3 days a week. I said, all right, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm gonna start this thing. I said,
Okay.
so if I tell myself Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it. Because if Wednesday rolls around and I feel like, oh, I'm not gonna do it, I'll just do it
Right.
later. If you do that consistently, man, you learn to not trust yourself. And I
You
think
do.
this is something I've raved on and on about. I think confidence, the definition of confidence, is being able to trust yourself. And so I think the
True.
only way you can do that is if you build trust with yourself. So if I tell myself that I'm going to get in the ice bath or whatever, XYZ,
Right.
at
Right.
7:30 Wednesday morning, if I don't do that, I'm not keeping a promise I made to myself.
Exactly.
And so if you do that consistently over time, you become a person that you can't even trust your own self. And
Yep.
then that leads into a problem with things like intuition. Oh, well, what happens if you get a gut feeling about something? Can you
Yep.
trust yourself?
Yep.
Can you
Yep.
trust? And so it's this snowball effect, man. But yeah, so that's what started it. And I started out at 3 days a week, and I said, you know what, this I'm seeing the physical benefits, I'm seeing the mental benefits, but I said
Yep.
I really want to do this to win that first battle of the day, because
Yeah.
that's going to set up my day, for the rest of the day.
And it is a battle when it's getting you're getting
For
into that.
sure,
It's
for
just like,
sure, yeah,
oh, it's like I don't want to do this. Oh yeah, it is. But it is. It's awesome. And my wife, I haven't got my wife convinced that that's something that we need to do. She's
yeah.
like, I'll let you do that. So so do you meditate then?
I used to meditate very consistently. There was a period there where I was meditating probably every day, 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day. I don't meditate as often as I used to.
Okay.
These days I'm more of, I do more journaling, more writing, um,
Yeah, getting in the
yeah,
physical.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm a proponent of, meditating. I think it's very beneficial. I think it's very helpful. Um, I think a lot of people have the wrong idea about it, because I feel like they think that they're supposed to sit there and not think about anything, which is nearly impossible,
It is
you know.
impossible.
But yeah, I agree with it. I think it's very beneficial.
No, what type of meditation do you do? Any particular one or any type?
So I did. I was just kind of, I don't know what you would call this. I would just kind of like just sit there and basically be with my thoughts for a second. Just, if a thought came in, that's okay. Just let it come, let it pass,
Yep.
type thing.
Yep. Yep.
Um, but there's a guy, Eckhart Tolle, I think is his name,
Okay.
and his
I
book is The Power of Now.
I do know that
And
book.
I was reading that book one day, man, and in there he talks about how the person that you think you are and the person that thinks are there's two different people. So
I would agree.
basically there's part of you that thinks, and then there's part of you that is aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it,
True.
it takes a
Okay.
it takes a second to kind of
Yeah,
digest
it
that,
does.
but it's almost like who you truly are is the awareness of everything that's happening around you.
Very true.
Anyways, and so during meditation, I was just trying to almost just like be aware, just kind of be just feel that awareness, just be aware of
Yeah.
whatever it was.
Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of people aren't ever aware. I think I always talk to my wife about people, they react, but they don't think.
Yep.
And I think in this society, I think that's all we can do. Everybody's in a hurry. Everybody's like in a hurry, and I always like, so what are you in a hurry to? Because eventually you hurry up for the next thing, and eventually
Yep.
you're running out of time to do the next thing because you've done a whole life of hurrying.
Hmm.
And if you maybe had thought, that maybe it's like, no, this is not the way that life should be lived. And so going back to authors, so what are some other authors that you like or books?
Tony Robbins. I've read a couple Tony Robbins books.
Okay.
Robert Greene, which is he's a little controversial here and there, but I think he's got some good points on some things. There's a couple books, I can't really remember the authors, man, but I know that the Extraordinary Mind or Extraordinary Mindset, something along those lines. There is Dopamine Nation, which I think was Anna Lemke. She just
Okay.
talks about how the dopamine works in the brain.
Yeah.
I like those kind of self improvements, but also the kind of like psychology books. That really intrigues me.
Yeah. No, I do too. In fact, I like Ed Milet's The Power of One More.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Actually, he was at the last time I was in Vegas. He was a speaker, and I kind of dismissed him. I didn't think he'd probably be that great a speaker. Oh my gosh, he's one of the best speakers I've ever seen. I mean, it was he had and it was like an audience of 6,000,
Oh
and
wow.
you could hear a pin drop, and I mean That's one thing I like to go to these events where for
Hmm.
one thing, not so much the speakers are great, but it's the like-minded people.
Right.
So do you go to events or have you gone to events?
I tried to go to a Jordan Peterson event
Okay.
locally where I'm at, and the tickets were sold out. I couldn't get a
Oh,
ticket, and so yeah, I would like to go to somebody maybe like Jordan Peterson,
yeah.
Inky Johnson, Eric Thomas. Maybe I don't think those guys do public. I think they more of like work with athletes.
Yeah,
Um,
ET has been at this Thrive, and ET is
okay,
he's a great speaker. He's just a great guy.
yeah,
he's very
he's a very powerful speaker. I
he
mean,
is.
his voice, his voice fits what he does because he
It
has that
is.
motivational voice.
Yeah. No, the last time was like he was hungry because his wife had him on a diet, and he was very relatable. He was a great
Right?
speaker too. So maybe you'll have your event for yourself someday. You'll probably be on the stage. I'm sure you'll be on the stage with
Maybe.
with like somebody in Vegas. There, do you go to Vegas?
I've never been to Vegas. I've wanted to go.
Oh, Cody.
Yeah, I've been to California, but I've never been. I flew to California, so we kind of went over Vegas, I guess, or around it, whatever.
Okay.
But no, I've never been to Vegas. I want to go there.
Vegas is there's no place like Vegas. I've never I mean I like Vegas, but it's kind of nice to come home too. But so California, where'd you go in California? I love California.
My stepmother has family out there, and this man, that was probably 2001, I think. Actually, it was the
Okay.
summer of 2001, right before the 9/11 tragedy.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
No, I love San Diego. I could live in San Diego. So I definitely like California. But so do you like to travel?
I do like to travel. I think what I like about traveling is the novelty, taking in the new ideas, the new people, the new cultures, the new
Yep.
places. And
Yep.
that's something else too, going back to this technology thing with these podcasts and all this kind of stuff. Like you said, this person from Australia. I mean, we were
Yep.
able to meet people from other cultures and other
Yep.
other, places in the world.
Exactly.
And no, I think that's everything, man. I think learning about these different cultures and these different things, these different people, I think that's kind of what helps us grow as people, because we can
I
stay
agree.
in this little 200-mile radius of wherever we live at, but
Yep.
I mean, outside of that, man, there's a whole different world.
There is. I mean, and that's one thing bad about Nebraska is a lot of people don't leave, hardly leave the state,
Right.
and they're comfortable. And it's like the best education is when you travel because then you get to see what it's really like.
Exactly.
Because Italy, I thought I probably had my, app on my phone and everybody spoke English. It's
Hmm.
just like there wasn't one person that didn't know English. And it's like,
Wow.
well, this isn't what I thought. And also we didn't need the euro. Everybody took credit cards over there. And it's just
Oh,
like,
okay.
okay, this is very much different. But and that's like this group that we did in Italy. We're going to Iceland this coming summer,
Hmm.
and it's just no, there's nothing like traveling. So where's some places in the United States that you traveled that you like?
Well, California was good. Their beaches are definitely different than the beaches on the East Coast.
Okay.
You know, the East Coast has there's this thing in America, man. I'm sure you know about it. There's a thing with like the heat on the West Coast versus the heat on the East Coast. Because in the
Okay.
East Coast we have the humidity. it's like
Oh yes,
miserable.
yes.
Um, I've been to St. Louis. That was an interesting place. I've been to I've been through Kansas. I didn't really stop anywhere. I don't know. It was
You
like
were right
driving on
close.
this
You didn't
tape.
stop by. I mean,
Oh
I'm
man,
only one county away from Kansas. Very
I'll
wrong.
be honest. I'll be honest with you. We were on the interstate the whole time, and it was
I
just like I
70.
I, I fell asleep, dude. It was like driving on this table, man. It was just like
It is.
there was nothing out there. At least with the part we
Yeah.
drove through.
Yeah.
Um, Colorado,
Yeah.
I think though is the most beautiful state I've ever been to.
It
Specifically,
is.
Colorado Springs. I mean, it was
Yep.
absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I love Colorado, and that's one thing where I'm only about 5 hours away from Colorado. So, and actually, my wife and I both started out in Colorado. My wife was born in Greeley, and I was born in Denver, Colorado. So,
Okay,
so yeah, and for a while, my folks lived in the mountains out there, so it was a good reason to go out and visit. So
it's
do
a
you
beautiful
ski?
state. I've been skiing probably 4, maybe 5 times. I used to skateboard as a kid. I was a big skateboard
Okay,
guy.
okay,
Um, it's been, I don't know, it's probably been 10 years since I went skiing, but it's something I enjoyed. I was okay at it. I wasn't, out there doing tricks or anything, but
okay.
I could stay up.
That would be better than me. So maybe a snowboard.
I never tried the snowboarding. No, I
I
never
hear
did.
that is more challenging, is what they tell me. So
I think so.
no,
Yeah.
no. So okay, what were you going through Kansas for? I mean,
We drove to Colorado, so we went through a couple different states.
Okay.
I don't know, I can't remember, Tennessee, Missouri, Kansas, I don't know,
Yep.
somewhere along that,
Run
but
probably 70 there. Yep.
we were driving to Colorado.
Okay, okay, that's cool. But yeah, Kansas there is very much like I-80 going through Nebraska, because Nebraska, you're right in the Platte River Valley, and everybody's like, it's flat. Once you get
Yeah.
off of there, I mean, actually, Nebraska has the biggest sand dunes in the Western Hemisphere. It's covered with
Okay.
grass, but it's definitely from the air. It's actually very beautiful,
Hmm.
and people dismiss Nebraska, but or like any state, you know. And actually, there's actually one mountain in Kansas called Coronado Heights, and it's
Okay.
got farm ground, and all of a sudden, you know, there's this great big mountain in the center part, and not very far from there, they got Rock City, which is these rocks, round rocks that are the size of houses that were left over from the ocean that was there, and like anywhere. So where you live, what would be some things if I was coming to visit? Would you recommend there?
So a lot of people that come to South Carolina, there's the beaches here, which is a big reason that people come here. Charleston specifically has a lot of history to it. It has
Right.
the entire city is like a historic city. Myrtle Beach is a big vacation spot for a lot of people. Uh,
Yep.
Charlotte, North Carolina is in North Carolina, but it's so close to South Carolina that the upper part of South Carolina is if you go to certain parts of the very northern part of South Carolina, it's almost like a suburb of Charlotte.
Oh,
Um,
really? Okay.
and Charlotte's one of those cities right now that's just going through a huge explosion of growth. I mean, it's just,
Okay.
there's crazy growth going on. I think I just realized this past year, Greenville, South Carolina is on the very bottom of, I guess it's the Smoky Mountains that are over on the
Okay.
East
Right.
Coast.
Right.
Yeah, so you could be in South Carolina. You could go to the mountains if you wanted. You could go to the beach if you wanted. Pretty major
Win-win.
city at the
Awesome.
close to the north part of the state. So
Best of all worlds then. So
yeah.
so I went at Virginia Beach. Actually, my wife and I were at Virginia Beach last year,
Hmm.
and actually we have not ever done much of the East Coast. How far? I mean, how far would you be from Virginia Beach?
I'm
Probably quite
not
a
sure.
ways.
Virginia was actually where we went skiing, and I think it
Okay.
was roughly 6 hours away.
Okay. Okay. No, that was a different city than I thought it'd be. It was a little too. I mean, they had a good beach, but it was kind of
Hey,
touristy.
I don't mean to cut you off. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
your video has kind of a lag. It has kind of a lag going on. I just want to make sure you can still hear me.
Yeah. Actually, both of these get uploaded to cloud, so when I render, it'll be good. So you probably
Okay.
maybe. So yeah, no, we're good.
Okay.
So I got to ask you, what does your tattoo on your arm say? If I'm,
This one.
yeah.
This is probably one of the oldest tattoos I have, man. It was from a poem I wrote. I used to be back in high school, I guess, somewhere around that time. I was big into writing poetry. And anyways,
Cool.
it says envy the guilt, cherish the pain. It was from a poem. When I say that tattoo out loud, people are like, "Oh, what's that mean?" But it's like it would be a rabbit hole to explain what this poem was about. Yeah, that was a man. That was an interesting time in life. That last 2 years or so of high school.
So would you still want to write poetry or, that
I don't know. Maybe not.
recognition? Maybe evolved kind of
Yeah.
from
I
that?
mean, these days, and again, I'm a very big advocate of this, but these days it's like uh, the gym, like physical fitness, does a lot of that. What would you say? I guess, for lack of a better word, like a therapy type thing. I mean, there are not many things that make me feel better about my day or about a situation, about myself, like the gym does. I mean,
Yeah,
it's very therapeutic to be in there and to be um, just again overcoming that battle, overcoming that struggle.
it is. So what is one of your favorite things to do at the gym?
uh, walking out the door on the way home.
I can relate to
Nah,
that, especially some days.
um, man, it's interesting because I think my favorite workout is probably shoulders, like working out
Okay.
shoulders.
Okay.
But you definitely got to hit legs. I'm just going to say there's way too many guys out there not hitting legs enough, man.
Uh-huh.
We gotta improve on that.
No. So would you want to have your own gym sometime?
I would. Yeah, I could see that being a possibility. Yeah.
Okay, that'd be cool. So, no, actually, my trainer, that's what his goal is. Eventually to have his own gym, and actually, this Y where I'm at is doing a $21 million renovation, so we're getting all new
Oh
machines
wow.
and everything. So, I've tried one, and I can't even remember. it was like a torture machine. Oh my gosh, this guy had invented it. There was like not very many in the United States yet, and you could kind of be horizontal when you were doing stuff,
Hmm.
and that changes the whole dynamics of everything.
Right.
It
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, this is really a workout, and I knew it the next day too. Um, but but yeah, it's going to be. He's telling me all the machines that are beginning to come because I think they're supposed to be done like May or June, and actually just got done with redoing the pool, and the pool is awesome. Miss doing that, and you said you'd like to swim too, so
Yeah, I was really there was one point in my life I mean I love to swim. I was a certified lifeguard at one point. I went through
really
the
okay.
certification. Yeah. Yeah. Um yeah, I was swimming is a really different workout. It's a completely different
It
workout, man.
is. It really is. I mean, I was a late bloomer because it wasn't until a few years ago because of the Y,
Hmm.
because I about drowned when I was a kid, so I
Right.
never ever got that, and it's just like, well, we were traveling and I was doing beaches and stuff, and I just wanted, so I could do all that, and the Y got me trained, and now it's like, oh, I wish I'd have done that way earlier, because it is. I think it's therapeutic, it's just I look forward to doing the swimming and all that goes with
Hmm.
that. So what else would you like the audience to know, the Dreamcatcher audience to know what you're up to and what's coming up next? And
Yeah, right now, it's just kind of, I think it's just kind of building the platform for this podcast, like I said, I'm roughly 25-ish episodes in. Uh, it's just kind of, building that up and hopefully I can be like where you're at one day. I think you're said almost close to 150 episodes in one,
yep, getting close.
close to it. Yeah. So I think that's, kind of maintaining everything else I already have in my life, but and also too trying to get the podcast where it needs to be or where I would want it to be to kind of grow it. I guess would be a way to say it.
No, that's cool. So do you have family or I mean, do you?
Yeah, so I don't have any children. I'm not married. I do have a
Okay,
girlfriend.
okay,
Um, I have two older sisters and two younger brothers.
cool.
And my dad is still alive, but my mom unfortunately passed away in 2018.
Oh, sorry to hear that. So, and family is what it's all about. So when you do have kids, how would you start raising them? What would be something that you would make sure when they're growing up that they got to know?
I think the first thing, and this may change if I ever have
Sure.
children at one
Oh
point, but
yeah.
I think right now to answer that question, the first thing that I would want them to understand is that whatever it is that they think they want to do or want to try, that they can absolutely do it.
Yep.
I
Yep.
think the self belief is probably the most important thing, one of the most important things we can learn in our life.
I very much agree. Yeah, you got to believe. Yep.
Yeah, and
So,
I understand there's different ways to teach self belief. I don't know if you know this or not. A lion, your shirt says lions. A lion,
yep. Yep.
um, when their cubs bite them or play with them or whatever, they act as if it hurts more than it does to encourage them. And so, I think there's a lot we can learn from wild animals, man.
Oh
And I
yes.
think that if we can encourage the younger generation, because here's the thing. They're eventually gonna be adults. Like they're gonna be into the
Exactly.
adult world.
Yep.
And at one day, I'm 30 years old. So say, maybe hopefully I have another 50 years. Hopefully I have more than that. I don't know. But
Exactly. Yeah.
just on average, just say I have another 50 years. At
Yep.
some point, whoever's left behind is going to be the ones that's just kind of in those roles, And
Yep.
I think it's just important. And I think, and I'm not trying to, take shots at any generation or parents or anything, but I think what one thing that is an issue is that a lot of times parents don't realize that they're putting their damage off on their children, And I think that's
Yep. I
something that
agree.
really I think like with this day and age and the technology we have in these podcasts and these kind of things, we can become more aware of that, and
Yep.
hopefully we can use that knowledge to, to improve our generations. But yeah, that projection of that damage, and going back to something that I've talked to a guy on my podcast about, Ross LaPala. He was talking about, these core beliefs. A lot of times these core beliefs are not even your own beliefs. A lot of times there's something
Exactly.
that was given to you by either a parent or an
Yep.
older, sibling, a teacher or
Yep.
whatever. And so I think learning is a skill, but I think unlearning is an even bigger skill. You know,
I very much agree. And way everything's progressing, there's so many things we need to unlearn, but I think some people get stuck and it's like, this is what I learned, this is what it's going to be, or they get stuck in a profession. It's like,
Hmm.
or they go to school and it's just like, well, I went to school, I have to stay there. And it's like, no, you're stuck then. If that doesn't resonate with you once you get into it, you can always change. Um, it, I see that. It's just like, no, if that does not, or people that's like, so Cody, would you retire if you got, you're working worth $1 billion, you really don't need to work anymore. So would you retire?
That is a question I've never been asked before. um, I think it depends on what you mean by retire, but I don't ever see myself just being a person who's just kind of, off
Mm-hmm.
hanging out on the beach every day. I don't see
Yeah.
myself. I mean, I would hope that if I had a billion, just say I had $1 billion, I would hope that I would be, if my family and myself had enough to survive, I would hope that I could use that money to do something else with. I would hope that I wouldn't just
Amen.
sit there, now, if you just hand somebody, well, first of all, it wouldn't be handed. If somebody just gets $1 billion, I don't know if they'll have the same mentality. Hopefully, I hear
Yeah.
that,
Yep.
you hear when people, get into this, they win the lottery or get money some kind of way or whatever, it changes who a person is. But I don't think that's true. I think it just amplifies who they already are.
I
You know.
agree. And with that money, because it's like they almost always lose the money because they
Yep.
haven't grown into the person that can handle that money.
Yep.
And almost exclusive. I mean, almost always. And retiring. I was thinking the traditional retiring, and I would never retire. It's like if
Yep.
I'm doing something I love, I would not retire. Plus, I see people that do retire, and then they
Hmm.
don't. They put all their identity into their work and don't know what to do, and kind of just start dying.
Yep.
And I think I don't know. I'm not a fan of retiring. I mean, I'm a fan of living your life, living
Yep.
it all along, because it's just like yesterday we had a really bad accident right to the east of our house. These
Hmm.
people missed a stop sign and a semi hit them, right?
Oh, wow.
And that was if that doesn't bring it all home, how your life can change or end, in a split second. And you need to live for the day.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because I think if you have a career or a job and you are looking forward to, whatever age it is, 60, 65, whatever it is when people retire, I don't know. If you're looking forward to that, I think you might need to ask yourself, what is it that are you truly, is this something that's truly fulfilling to you?
Yep.
You know,
Yeah. Why are you looking so much forward towards it?
right,
Because if
right.
you were living doing something that was really your calling, you would be not wanting to ever give it up. You
Yeah.
know.
Now, and in that, but also too, with that same breath, I say this too, though. Some people, their purpose might not be to have a world changing career or something
True.
that's,
Oh yes,
I
definitely.
mean, some people are okay just going to a job and working their 8 hours, and
They
that's
are.
okay because their
Yep.
purpose might be with their family or with something
Exactly.
else,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
and that's okay. But
Yep.
I'm just saying, if it makes you miserable to be there, and if you're just looking forward to hitting that clock out on the way home, you
Yeah.
really want to ask yourself, man, what could you be doing that would be more fulfilling to you,
You
or
do
what
need
could
to
you be
ask that.
contributing?
Yes. Yes. And I think that once again, people are just going through the reps. They're just it's like I got to do this. It's Monday, so I got to go to work, and looking
Yep.
forward to Friday and this Sunday fun day thing, which also is a trigger for me because it's like every day can be a fun day, every day can be a work day. One thing
Hmm.
what we do is because everybody's like, when do you work and when do you play? It's like it's one and the same. There is no
Yep.
distinction between when one ends and the other starts. And that's why Monday can be fun day. Any day can be fun day if you really want to make it that way, and probably you probably should if you want to. So on that, Cody. Anything else? I look forward to. I have not listened to your podcast. I will definitely and definitely. So I got one more question. Would you ever have your own exercise program? You being up there and
I would. I think I would have to do it in tiers.
okay,
This beginner, intermediate, advanced, maybe. Because the things I ask, and this is something I have to be conscious of. The things
okay,
I ask myself to do sometimes, it's not that I'm being a tyrant to myself because I don't feel like I'm. People ask me all the time, like, "How are you? All these things you have going on. How are you not stressed?" I'm like, "I'm not stressed. This sounds like a very cliche way to say this, but I'm energized by these things. It just
I understand
energizes
that.
me to do all this and have all this going on. So I
Yep.
would never, if I were to develop a fitness program for somebody, it would be for that person. I would never say, hey, this is what I would do. Let's do this and let's go run together.
Right,
Like, it's
right.
not going to be that way. So you have to,
Yep.
I think with a person who is in that spot, a trainer or a coach or whatever, and they probably obviously know this if they're trainers or coaches, but they have to take that into account. You just can't ask somebody to do. I mean, just like there's other people out there that do way
Yep.
more than I do, and I can't do what they do.
Right.
So
Exactly. No, I
it's
know what you
relative to
mean
the
there.
person for sure.
It is. So one last question. Do you collect watches? Looks like you got an awesome watch there.
This is actually a Fossil watch.
Oh, I like Fossil watch. I actually have a Fossil watch. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I have a Samsung smartwatch, and to think the band broke on it, man. And it's the one that tracks the heart rate and all that kind of stuff. And so now when
Awesome.
I'm in the gym, I don't know what I'm doing because my watch is broken. So
Well, there's so I mean, it's amazing. I got between watch and Oral Ring. I mean, I got that. It is amazing all that stuff that can keep track of all that, and
oh yeah.
actually is very very amazing how accurate it is.
Hmm.
Because I got actually the ring right before COVID, and the University of California, San Francisco wanted to know. They thought maybe that it could tell when you maybe were getting COVID,
Hmm.
and it's just like how something that little can do all that stuff. So. So do you collect watches? I got to ask you.
I don't. I
Okay.
mean, I like the idea of watches. I think people, they're really expensive ones. Some
Oh
people
yeah,
kind of they don't understand it. It's a craft to
it
make those
is.
watches like that. I certainly can't afford a $250,000 watch or anything, but
Right.
I'm just saying I get that it is a craft. It's a handmade craft.
Yeah. Oh, they're art pieces. I mean, they're just amazing. I mean,
Oh, for
and
sure,
how, yeah. I save a lot of them. It's just like I'm just in awe. How long it must have taken and everything. The work of art. Somebody was able to do that in such a
for
small
sure.
area. And so do you? How about cars? So do you like cars? I mean, I said that
You
was the
know,
last question.
I've never been too big into cars either. I do like luxury cars, the Ferraris, the Lamborghinis, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But
Okay.
as far as the classics and stuff, man, I don't know. I never really got into cars
No, yeah, I like Lambos real well and all that stuff. So yeah, anybody out here in Nebraska, it's like you're gonna put that on a gravel road. It's like no, if I had that car, it would not be in Nebraska. So
Yeah, I think there's a Lamborghini dealership in Charlotte, so you
is
see them.
there?
Yeah, you see them often around here. You know.
Now I've got friends actually we're invited down to Miami for New Year's, and he's got three, I think.
Oh
And
yeah, you'll see
he
them down
says,
there for sure.
and like he says, and it's like I get to drive one of them. I don't know if I would be that trusting.
Yeah, man. I've never
uh,
driven one, but
I haven't either. So, but it's just like, yeah, I will take you up on that. I just don't want to wreck one.
for
So,
sure.
especially when it's somebody else's. So, but, well, Cody, I'm going to let you go. Thanks for joining me on the Dreamcatcher podcast. I hope maybe to get back, maybe on a follow up podcast sometime down the line. If that would
I'm
be,
sorry, you cut out. What was that?
would maybe a follow up podcast down the line.
Sure, sure, sure. And I just
Okay.
want to say too, Mr. Larson, before we get out of here, I really do appreciate the opportunity. I really appreciate you having me on
Oh,
here and
well,
doing this
thank
with
you.
me. And hopefully I can contribute something to your audience. Hopefully they can take something away from this conversation. And
Oh, very
I
much.
appreciate what you're doing too with this thing because, like I said, I think we need more of this. I think the world needs more of these kind of conversations.
I agree. I very much agree, and thank you for saying that. And no, I look forward to talking. I look forward to just talking to you in the future and on a follow up podcast. So
Yes, sir. Sure.
so on that, thanks for joining us, and have a good rest of your day. And we'll be talking soon.
Thank you.